In today's digital world, your data is more exposed than ever, scattered across various platforms and constantly under threat. Traditional, fragmented security tools just don't cut it anymore. They make processes cumbersome, slow, and complicated to manage when things go awry. That's why I'm excited to talk about Cohesity Data Cloud. It's a game changer. Cohesity offers a single AI-powered platform that not only protects and secures your data, but also unlocks valuable insights. It uses AI and automation to detect threats early and enables you to recover your data in hours, not days. With Cohesity, you're not just reacting, you're proactively building resilience across AI, cloud, and identity systems. Want to enhance your data security and management? Visit cohesity.com/datacloud. Cohesity, resilience everywhere.
A lot of people didn't see where we were going when we built a decisions agent. Does it mean this library that we picked? Does it mean we actually use it for everything? Does it mean that we don't use M-dashes in our product copy? Stuff like that. So we started very intentionally with just this tiny thing from the feedback that we're hearing of people who are starting out at the very beginning of the process where we were, where we've got a document, I'm copying and pasting the same prompts 10 times. Can I just have the agent go figure that out? Even then, the models at the time, prior to even Opus 4, their rule following wasn't that great. So we spent a lot of time just getting them to understand what decisions meant and finding out the right integration points between an agent and a decision log. My name is Drew Dillon. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Brief.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
The company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
I was
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. Not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Drew Dillon is helping you align your team and your AI agents from vision to impact at AI speed. This episode is brought to you by Tiger Data. Stop bolting separate databases onto your stack. Tiger Data is 100% unforked Postgres. Same ORMs, same drivers, no pipeline maintenance. As Cloudflare's team put it, you keep analytical and config data under one roof with specialized OLAP performance. Try it today at tigerdata.com. This episode is brought to you by Protected Harbor. Your infrastructure scales, but does it actually understand your apps? With Protected Harbor's Application-Aware Infrastructure, or AAI, your tech automatically aligns with app performance while built-in zero-trust security verifies every user and workload. Give your team total control without the complexity. Go to protectedharbor.com/codestory to learn how. This episode is brought to you by Render. Stop jumping between 4 vendor consoles just to host your stack. Render runs your web services, databases, background workers, and AI workflows all in one single cloud platform. Connect your repo, push your code, and you're live. No serverless timeouts or crazy setups. Ship faster today with render.com. Drew Dillon is a tech founder and product leader centered in the Bay Area. He is a person who likes to do a bit of everything, having an engineering background but spending time in design, sales, and product management. He's been a part of many startups, Yammer being one of them, and several others from Y Combinator, along with being a consultant and a fractional CPO. Outside of tech, he has 2 kids that take up most of his time. When he isn't on the sidelines of a soccer game, he enjoys woodworking and reading a good sci-fi book. At a prior startup, Drew built a system using AI, which spit out something reasonably shaped. He took a look at the process he went through to create it and realized that there are a ton of disparate parts, all separate from the shared organizational context, i.e. the why behind what is being built. He set out to change that and created institutional memory and product judgment within AI agents. This is the creation story of Brief.
Brief is basically your AI product brain. So it's really an extension of your product team's understanding and capability, their knowledge. as well as an operator that helps you extend the capabilities of that team. This is all based in my own background, of course, in product management. What I found, especially in the past 6 years, in between starting my own startups, I was a fractional chief product officer. And always at any company, the process of building software changes all the time. It changes between projects, it changes between teams, especially more so between companies. But what I found was the why of why you build products is actually extremely similar. It's the same process at every company. You start with where you see the company going over the next 3 to 6 months, then to the roadmap of what helped you get there, then down to the individual features and capabilities, then down to the build, and then each of these, of course, are iterative back and forth, so you learn as you go along the way. But that structure actually was repeatable, and that's what my consultancy basically did. I helped companies operationalize that process, and in doing so, basically found that we would more than double their engineering velocity just through helping everybody through that entire process understand everything that comes into building software. And that's basically the inspiration behind Brief. That's what Brief does for companies. It helps them operate that why along with the how of actually building software.
So tell me about the MVP for Brief, the first version you built, you created. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
So Brief, we started actually at a different company. The company previously was called Moxie, and it was around AI-powered sales demos. And prior to starting Moxie, I hadn't really coded in anger in about 15 years, where I had been managing engineering teams, but not actually a coding engineer working on anything. When I was working on Moxie, I picked up Cursor for the first time. And for the first time, I was able to describe the software that I wanted and have it come out in a reasonable shape. And when I went around and showed a bunch of people what I was working on, they all basically said I was weird the way my operating process was for using Cursor. And it's because I was using my product management tools. I've been explaining to engineers why we need to build stuff for 20 years. But I was doing the same thing at the coding agent. I wasn't like, move this button, center that div. I was like, here's the user. Here's what the user wants. Here's why we're doing this thing. And so Brief kind of grew out of that process that I had developed through initially copying and pasting prompts out of a document, then into Markdown documents, then connecting a bunch of MCPs, actually building kind of a second brain that could actually coordinate with the agent itself at that velocity. And then just got smarter and smarter, add more intelligence, add more things to it so it could make better decisions and continue to extend my speed and understanding to the coding agent. And so funny enough, the MVP was very dumb. We built it in about 3 days, and it was a log of all the decisions that we had made around the product, who our users were, what they were doing, etc.
So with that MVP, let's stay on it for a minute. I'm curious about a decision or trade-off you had to make and how you approached building that original version, right? And maybe it was leaving it dumb, right? Or maybe it was some sort of acceptance of debt or limitation or something. But tell me about one of those and how you coped with it.
A lot of people didn't see where we were going when we built a decisions agent, because decisions mean a lot of things. Does it mean this library that we picked? Does it mean we actually use it for everything? Does it mean that we don't use M dashes in our product copy? Stuff like that. So we started very intentionally with just this tiny thing from the feedback that we're hearing of people who are starting out at the very beginning of the process where we've got a document of copying and pasting the same prompts 10 times. Can I just have the agent go figure that out? And even then, the models at the time, I think this is prior to even Opus 4, it was Opus 3, it probably Sonnet, I don't even remember what the number was at the time, but yeah, the much older models, their rule following wasn't that great. So we spent a lot of time just getting them to understand what decisions meant and finding out the right integration points between an agent and a decision log.
This episode is brought to you by Tiger Data. If you're like me, your architecture diagram started simple, until someone added a specialized time series DB, a couple of pipelines, and suddenly you're babysitting 4 databases at 2 a.m. Stop doing that to yourself. Enter Tiger Data. It's 100% unforked, pure Postgres. Same drivers, same ORMs, same standard SQL, 0 new query languages to learn. And not just in theory. FlexiGrid consolidated 4 databases down to just 1 instance and got 350 times faster queries. Blueco ingests 3 billion points a month, and Orca processes over $500 million in daily trading volume. Maybe you've heard of Cloudflare? Yeah, that Cloudflare. The way they put it, with Tiger Data, you get OLAP speed right alongside config data, all under one roof. As you can see, Tiger Data handles serious scale. The storage compression is absurd, and your cloud bill will thank you. So streamline your stack today. Head over to tigerdata.com and see why over 3 million Tiger Data databases are running right now. That's tigerdata.com. Let's talk about something crucial. Your data. It's spread far and wide, and it's constantly under threat. And the truth, many organizations still rely on outdated, disjointed tools, making everything from daily operations to emergency responses slow and complex. Enter Cohesity Data Cloud. This isn't just another tool, it's a game changer. Imagine having one AI-powered platform that not only secures and protects your data, but also unlocks valuable insights. With Cohesity, you can detect threats faster with AI and automation. And if things go south, you're not stuck waiting days for recovery. You're back up in hours. Ready to build resilience across AI, cloud, and identity? Visit cohesity.com/datacloud today. Cohesity. Resilience everywhere. So then from that point, you've got something, it's getting you some of the validation or traction you want. How did you progress and mature it from that point? I think to wrap in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is, how do you go about building your roadmap? How do you go about deciding that this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Brief?
I heard this once, that there are two forms of product design. One is expert design, which is we go research really hard. We try and understand the user base as much as possible. In expert design, you're saying, I'm not the user, but I'm going to go learn everything I can about the user, which is fundamentally where I end up, where I think every product eventually ends up. You can't always be your own user. And then the other is self-design, where you build the product that you understand and you need at the moment that you need it. And I think that's the magic of a really early stage product, is if you are building for yourself, you don't really need to go and put too much thought into it. Just like, okay, I'm working on this thing and now I want it to do this. And that's been where Brief has been probably for the first 6 months or so of the life cycle. It's just, I know what my consulting practice does. And what does Brief need to be able to do to deliver the same kind of results that I delivered through my consulting practice? It needed integrations, it needed agents, it needed skill files and ways of looking at data in different ways to be creative about what we needed to work on next. So each of those kind of grew organically as I hit those moments of building Brief itself.
So I'm curious about team, right? To do something like this, you got to have the right people at the helm. How did you go about building that team, and what do you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you?
Especially in the age of AI-powered everything, you really need people who are able to articulate broadly challenges, be more thoughtful about the flow of work rather than the specifics of what they're doing. Fundamentally, also, we see this combining and overlapping of roles across multiple different departments, not just engineering, product design, but even between sales, marketing, and product support, etc. So it's flexibility in understanding of your role. There can't really be ownership or people who get too pedantic about what they're working on. They need to be thoughtful about their work and their operations, and also able to articulate it in a very specific way. And that doesn't mean you don't get specialists. So we do have a specialized AI engineering function, so that when we build agents, we're not building them based off of winging it in Google searches. But we hired, for example, my buddy Ryan, who I worked with as an enterprise sales rep 13 years ago at this point. And because Ryan has been a founder himself, he's taught himself to code. He's actually shipped multiple products. But the expectation wasn't Ryan was going to come in and just immediately take over enterprise sales. It's like, okay, you're going to come in, you're going to help build, you're going to help execute. And that was the first thing. He came in week one, had Hermes up and running, connected to Apollo, doing live outreach, all that kind of stuff.
This episode is brought to you by Protected Harbor. Guys, I'm sure your IT infrastructure can scale, but does it actually know what your applications need? Or is it just throwing bandwidth at the problem and hoping nobody breaks in? That's where Protected Harbor, an application-aware infrastructure, or AAI, comes in. Instead of hoping for the best, application-aware infrastructure aligns your tech resources directly with what your apps actually need to perform safely. Plus, it's engineered with built-in zero-trust security. That means every user, device, and workload gets verified continuously. No automatic passes, no free rides. You get total visibility and ironclad control without making life a living nightmare for your dev teams. You get to build, deploy, and scale on infrastructure designed around security from day one. So stop assuming your network is safe and start knowing it is. Go to protectedharbor.com/codestory to learn how AAI can strengthen your stack today. That's protectedharbor.com/codestory. This episode is brought to you by Render. If you're building modern full-stack apps or AI agents, you know the drill. Your front end is on one platform, your database is on another, background jobs are on a third, and half your day is spent jumping between vendor consoles. It's exhausting. That's why you need to check out Render. Render is the cloud for builders, a single platform for your web services, Postgres databases, background workers, and cron jobs. You connect your Git repo, push your code, and it's live in production with automatic TLS and zero downtime deploys. Connect your repo, push, and done. Plus, unlike serverless platforms that time out mid-execution, Render's compute is persistent, with features like render workflows, long-running AI agent loops, and multi-step jobs run smoothly without you having to build complex queue or retry logic. Over 6 million developers are shipping on Render, scaling from early builds to millions of users on the exact same platform. Head to render.com and ship your next project today. That's render.com. I'm curious about scale, Drew. How did you approach scale from the early days? How did you think about it and how you were building the product? And this obviously is baked into what you've created, but I'm curious if there have been interesting areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown.
Everybody asks me what's so hard about building an AI product, and I tell them that it's API authentication because it's the least standard part of any API, and it drops all the time, and they don't document why it drops, all that kind of stuff. The interesting, I think, the magic of being not fresh out of college and working in this area. I don't worry that much about vibe-coded software because I know how to describe the problems that engineering teams that I've worked with and managed myself have encountered over time. So anything from like technology choices, which databases are we going to use, API rate limits, security, things like that, all of those get baked into the system from the earliest time periods. So even those get registered as decisions in brief. We're going to use this until we hit this scale. We're going to operate this way until we hit this moment. All of that actually is baked into the product plan. And so agents will even come back to me. The coding agent will say, hey, I've had this conversation with our brief agent, and it told me that when we hit this moment, we need to do this, and we need to go do this now. And so making investments incrementally as we can see around the corners of what those scale challenges are going to be.
Okay, Drew, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built thus far at Brief, what are you most proud of?
Every new feature has a moment where we dark launch it and we are the only users of it. And it's funny building an agent that gives advice, because how do you build evals against advice? We're not scanning medical records. There's no numerical correctness that we're working towards. Was this good advice? Or my bar for me is like, does it sound like me? Does it sound like a decision I would have made in that moment? Does it express that opinion the way I would express that opinion? And I think as each part of the product hits that inflection point of, hey, this is actually really good advice. I'm like, actually, this is something I wouldn't have even known because I don't go scan all of our competitors' websites every day the way Brief does. That's the stuff I get really excited about. So we send out a weekly email. That's probably the crown jewel of the product. Here's what we learned last week, and based on what we learned last week, here's what we think we should be focused on next week. And at this point, it's really good. It actually really sounds like me. It sounds like good advice. I learn stuff whenever that email comes out. So the fact that it took a lot of work, it took all of the underlying infrastructure, all the agents, all the APIs and everything to get to a point where it could have that sort of 360 view of the organization. But I'm really happy about how that came out.
Okay, Drew, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
At the end of the day, Brief, of course, was a pivot from a previous idea. So I think understanding the signals of what you're learning, that the previous idea hit kind of a moment where we were ready to go asking people for money, and the money just wasn't there. People were come back next quarter. It was basically the best response we got, which for an early stage startup means you don't have it. Probably one with Brief, we did start with a lot of earlier stage companies. We were asking a lot of folks to look at us, invest, play very early on. And more recently, our tractions actually come from much larger organizations, which I would not have predicted for a number of reasons. And so understanding also your ICP and just keeping your eyes and ears open as you're learning your ICP, but also not making sure you understand where the value centers are, making sure that you ask for the money up front, that you're not just doing stuff for free forever, and that you are not using happy ears when you hear customer feedback.
Let's move forward then. Drew, this will be exciting. What does the future look like for Brief, for what you've built, for where the industry is going? It changes so fast. What does the future look like?
The buzzword of 2 weeks ago was loops. I think everybody's now come back to factories and graphs and all of these sorts of things. That's always where we've oriented, is that there will be specialists as well as generalists, and the generalists will need to orchestrate sorts of fleets of agents. And those agents will be doing traditional product design engineering work, and the people operating those agents might come from a product design or engineering background. And we see Brief as the product management stool, that the strategic arm, the communication arm, and the mediation of ideas arm of that whole process that empowers sort of these individuals as they're operating these factory sort of environments. I'll say a lot of people try and make that jump really early. They go right from very traditional development to a full factory autonomous development environment. That's probably where I see most of the mistakes today. Most people you have to step into it. You have to build your harness and think about these things all incrementally. So that's where Brief is today. But where I see Brief going is you're going to have product management agents operating product strategy within organizations.
Let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why.
That's a good question. I think there are a lot of product thinkers in the world in terms of strategists and people who are just very thoughtful and opinionated about these things. One guy I know primarily through Twitter is this guy, Andrew Ziegler, who's been, his podcast is called Dev Interrupted. So Andrew Ziegler's podcast, Dev Interrupted. And he's been on the sort of the bleeding edge of all of this stuff. He was talking about loops and things like this back in December. So huge info there. Keaton Shaw, of course, is a big influencer in the overall product community, but just watching him migrate his product thinking towards a more agentic model has been really inspiring.
Last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. And can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I would always tell them that I give terrible feedback. I have many times people have shown me stuff and I'm like, that's stupid. And then it ended up being great. So I always caveat that if it's not specifically for me, I'm not going to give you good feedback about it. I'll help you think through how to think about it, but I won't be the person to give great feedback. Then after that, it's like, yes, lessons about if you are selling something for money, then you need to charge money. That's a critical moment. So when you are talking to people about the product, also you shouldn't talk to people about the product. Just a general product management sort of philosophy. You ask them questions about their challenges and hear if they say the things that you expect to hear. And if not, again, don't use happy ears. Follow that pain point rather than your own sort of prescription. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution, if you will. Once something is starting to work, it's starting to pick up, you're starting to take off a bit, then what you need to think about is the long term of people that you have around you and your role of the organization. Eventually, the CEO's job is operations and inspection, and a lot of people don't love that work. Operations meaning process. You actually have to be thoughtful and careful and really care about process, and to a lot of people, that's a dirty word. So also just think about where you see your own personal interest going over the next 10 years, if this is something you really want to pursue.
Couldn't agree more. That's fantastic advice. Drew, thanks for being on the show today, and tach you for telling the creation story of Brief.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noah. Thanks for having me.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening. Hey guys, if you're curious about how AI is built and actually understands you, I recommend listening to Working Smarter, a podcast from Dropbox about how AI is changing the way we work and get stuff done. Work today is scattered and fragmented across all these different tools. None of them have the full picture of what you need or what actually matters to you. But on the new season of Working Smarter, you'll hear how Dropbox engineers have been building context-aware intelligence that connects to all the tools your team uses for work, so you get AI that works wherever you do. With episodes on context engineering, multi-model search, agentic AI, security, and more, Working Smarter goes beyond the scenes to show you what it takes to build better AI tools for modern work, and how they can help you work smarter too. Listen to the latest episodes of Working Smarter wherever you get your podcasts, or visit workingsmarter.ai.
Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.